Rogue have announced 7 big names that we'd expect to be competing in this year's Rogue Invitational. But with 4 of the biggest names in the sport missing for this year's competition, we have 3 spaces left, and we are here to speculate on who is going to fill those spaces. So, Auntie Lizzie, very quickly, tell everyone the 7 names so far that are confirmed for this year's Rogue Invitational.
There should be no huge surprises with this list. First up, we have last year's winner, Martins Licis. Then we have Oleksii Novikov. He competes in everything and he still wants to win everything. And he placed 3rd at last year's competition. Next up, we have Rob Kearney. He was in this competition last year also. He placed 6th and he was 5th at this year's Arnold Strongman Classic. Then we have Maxime Boudreault. Obviously, he's placed 3rd at World's Strongest Man last year. Trey Mitchell, who last year was there as like an equipment tester.
He was the reserve, yeah.
Lots of people were a bit upset to see Trey there but not competing, so those fans will be happy this year. Bobby Thompson, the American Nightmare, he placed 3rd at this year's Arnold Strongman Classic. And then confirmed today was Mitch Hooper, who is still in his debut year of Strongman, but he won his group at World's Strongest Man and came 8th in the final, and then he has placed on the podium in every competition since then.
So, a great list of 7 athletes. The competition is going to have 10 athletes, and some big names that we would have loved to have seen, but for various different reasons, they won't be competing. So firstly, the Stoltmans announced that they're taking the rest of the year off. Great to see them, you know, committing to other things and letting the fans know that they aren't in shape to compete this year. They want to focus on World's Strongest Man and big events for next year. Just today, Mr. 4-time World's Strongest Man winner, one of the greatest strongmen to ever walk the planet, Brian Shaw, has announced he won't be competing at this year's Rogue Invitational. That's sad, but kind of expected. I think Brian is going to be very selective now going forward on the shows that he does. Obviously, Kieliszkowski is still coming back from injuries. He's publicly said he wants to focus on the Arnolds as his comeback show. And finally, another name that you'd expect in all these major competitions unfortunately picked up a horrendous injury at the Arnold's Classic this year. JF Caron, he's doing well. Yeah. Whether he competes in Strongman again, we're not so sure at the moment, but he is focused on recovery. So, it leaves 3 spaces.
3 is a lot as well.
It is. When you kind of look at the names that you'd expect, we've kind of made a little list of athletes that, I mean, this is by no means the athletes that are going to be considered as well. This is the interesting thing. Where do Rogue look? What competitions are Rogue looking at for their competition? Yeah. Now, I think based on the fact that Mitch Hooper is in this, you have to look at World's Strongest Man. Yes. So someone like Gabriel Rayam, guys that maybe came 3rd in their group at World's Strongest Man.
I don't know about 3rd in their group, you know.
Well, I'm thinking guys like Kevin Ferris, who he was 3rd in his group, but he's done well in other competitions. Kevin is actually one of the guys I would say should be top of this list of athletes. He's been very consistent in his last sort of 5 big shows that he's done. He's always performing well. Yeah. Had a very good performance recently at the Shaw Classic.
And most importantly, I think, in terms of influence for this competition, he would have impressed at the Rogue Record Breakers this year doing the replica Dinny Stone walk.
Absolutely. He's going to be on their radar. So for me, Kevin, it has to be someone that they're looking at. The next big name for me, and he's only done 1 competition really that I think is worth looking at, but he did so well at it, was Pavlo Nekonechni.
Wide Pavlo.
Wide Pavlo, as he is known now, and he is wide, but he can move. He's a great young up-and-coming athlete, and he was so impressive in the Giants Live in Cardiff recently, beating a number of athletes that are already in this competition, and he really impressed. There was no weakness there. His whole performance was very good. He can move well, he can lift massive weights, he's imposing, he's got, you know, he's just got that it factor that you just think this guy's going to be good.
You want to see him, and I just think this competition will be so much more exciting with Pavlo in it.
So another Ukrainian, Pavlo Cordiaca, he has been impressive this year. He came 3rd in his group at Worlds.
It's a tough group as well.
It was a very tough group. He was 4th at Europe's Strongest Man, done well in a number of shows recently. I mean, not the biggest shows, but he's been winning shows, you know, around Europe. And he's another impressive athlete. These Ukrainians are just beasts. Unbelievable athletes. They are determined, and they just keep churning out great superstars in the sport of strongman. So he's someone I think is going to be in the mix in terms of athletes that need to be looked at. Now, a couple of British guys, I know there's a lot of people talking about Adam Bishop and Graham Hicks as athletes to look at. And yeah, they are names that you should be looking at, but Hicksy is currently away and hasn't been training. And when you compare what Hicksy's done results-wise to some of the other guys, really the best we can look at from Hicksy is a 4th place.
Yeah.
He got 4th at Cardiff. And, you know, we all know Hicksy is capable of doing some incredible things. I'd actually love to see Hicksy get an invite to the Arnolds.
Yeah, I think
and train for that. I think that would be the comp for him. But knowing Hicksy as well, he's been away with his family. He's not been training. He's not the kind of guy that's just going to take an invite last minute. No. He needs to prepare. He wants to turn up in shape. So I can't see Hicksy going to this. Obviously, Adam Bishop. He did really well at Worlds, although he didn't make the final this year, and it's been the first final he hasn't made for a while. He was in a very tough group, came 3rd. Bish picked up a tricep injury training for the World Deadlift Championships, so he is not currently in shape. So it leaves a couple of other athletes. Now, one, if you asked me last year, this guy I think would be a guarantee is Evan Singleton. Yeah. Last year, you look at his results. He won a number of Giants live shows, really was kind of like on that upwards trajectory. This year has not been the best year for him. World's Strongest Man was disappointing for him. He's had some solid performances since then. I'd say he's sort of kind of come down from that peak a little bit, and he needs to just stabilise and get himself back up there. Yeah. But I think based on what he did last year, he's had some solid performances this year in Giants live shows. Yeah. If he put it together, you know Evan is capable. Yeah. It's just maybe Evan needs a bit of time off to get himself feeling good. That's the only concern. But Evan in shape is still an incredible strongman. And he's still young. We forget that. You know, I think if he gets a chance at a show like this, he's someone that could excel. But will what he's done this year affect an invite? Because I think, like I said at the start, if it was based on last year, you have to invite him. He just had an incredible year. This year, he's just come down from that, that peak a little bit.
Another name to consider, so this is if they're looking at the World's Strongest Man results. Aethor Melstead made the final this year. He placed 9th behind Mitch Hooper. So, and like you said, it really depends on what they're looking at, what time frame they're looking at. We don't know. It's very funny. I don't like not knowing.
It's a difficult one with the Rogue Invitational because it is an invitational. They can invite whoever they like. Yeah. And it's who are they looking at? What competitions are they looking at? It's a difficult one. But Aethor is a very solid performer. He's, not someone that stands out that you think, oh, that guy's going to win comps, but he does very well in pretty much most comps that he does. Very well, all-round athlete. And yeah, he's got to be put into that conversation. Now, someone I know Auntie Liz would love to see at the Rogue Invitational is Rauno Hainler. Rauno was exceptional doing the Masters World Deadlift record earlier this year. His deadlift is exceptional, and I think if there is the elephant bar deadlift, it would be cool to see someone like Rauno competing. Whether Rauno is good enough all round at the moment, I don't know if we can go based on the results from the last year that he gets an invite for that.
No, I agree. But he's had some really good results at the Arnolds before. It was a competition that suited him better. He's one of those, as long as it's not grip related, it works in his favour usually when it's a little bit heavier. So it'd be interesting, because I've seen this mentioned in a few places now, Rogue have tended to stick with what they know, and that tends to be Arnold's athletes. Yeah. And that, because some people had criticisms last year about, bless them, but Jerry Pritchett and Mikhail Shivlikov, because they were both a little bit beat up going into the competition, but they've been solid performers at the Arnolds before.
Sure, yeah. I think we have to try and look at recent performances. That's what I want to see, Look, with the prize money involved, I'd love to get an invite.
I know.
But I do not deserve an invite. We need to give it to the guys that are performing right now.
So a couple of other names that keep cropping up, and for good reason, they're good, solid athletes. Obviously, it's based on a very recent result at the Strongman Champions League Gloucester, is Aethor Melstead. Now, we know what Aethor can do in an international lineup. He's placed 3rd on the podium twice now at WUS, which is something that potentially that they're looking at. But I just don't know. I think I would love to see Aethor do it.
On a personal note, yeah. He's a friend of ours. We'd love to see him compete. Has he done enough this year against maybe some of those other guys? I think maybe Kevin is a little bit ahead. I think what Wide Pavlo has done is a little bit ahead, but he's a very solid performer, and I'm sure if he got the opportunity, he would jump at it.
Janasha, Constantine Janasha. Now, he's not had the best... I mean, he did place third at Europe's Strongest Man, to be fair to him. Since then, though, he hasn't had the best year, has he? It was the first time he didn't make the final at World's Strongest Man.
His World's Strongest Man performance wasn't... I think he was carrying an injury at Worlds, to be fair to him. And he has looked better since then. Maybe getting an invite to this would be enough time to really focus on recovering. I think this is one thing at the moment. With so many big shows, athletes do pick up injuries and then sometimes just don't quite come back as well as they could. But Janasha is one of those, in shape, he's a dangerous man. And he's someone I wouldn't mind seeing. Because again, when he's in shape, he's a dangerous athlete. Could do very, very well on a number of rogue type events. We don't know the events.
We don't know the events.
That's another thing. I mean,
oh, man.
Will they bring back the Wheel of Pain? Will the Elephant Bar Deadlift be there? Last year, one of my favourite events, and I wasn't sure I'd like it before the competition, was the yoke into the log. But it turned out to be really exciting. So it's going to be nice to find out what the events are. Yeah. But we still have 3 spaces left for this competition. What we want to know is, who do you guys want to see at the Rogue Invitational? There are 3 spots left. 7 incredible athletes already invited. Who are going to be the next 3? Leave your comments down below. Remember, like, share and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back with more Rogue Invitational news soon. Take care.